morning and welcome to the Somewhat Daily News Backup for Wednesday, the 17th of February. This is the
Correct.
Somewhat Daily News Backup because we come to you somewhat daily, of course, on Monday and Wednesdays, bringing you internet news. My name is Gus and I am joined today by the lovely, esteemed Peter the Woodsman Burns. How are you?
Thank you. That's so sweet.
You're welcome.
I did not expect that. I was like rearing up for my big yeah, which I always
of course.
do. For the people listening at home, I fake swing an axe because I am a fake woodsman. But
that was more of a visual.
But I got caught out by that sweet note that you just gave me. So
I'll be honest. I went before I said Peter. I just opened the filing cabinet of my mind for a word to add to your description, and esteemed came out. Haven't used that one in a while, so you're welcome to that one.
Thank you very much. And our biggest competition right now is Dan Andrews, who I think is delivering some very good news to Victorians. So
fingers crossed, yeah. Hopefully they're out of their lockdown now and things are going slightly back to normal. But yeah, snap lockdown in Melbourne, Victoria would have been a tricky couple of days for people the last 5 days, I believe. And he's hoping things are looking out and looking like good news ahead. And speaking of good news, that's why we're here, isn't it? Well, gaming news, good news?
Yeah. Anything gaming is typically good, except the people that like games. If it's news about them, then it's probably bad.
Yeah, that's often the case, I think, in these stories. But I think we've got some nice ones lined up today.
Absolutely.
We'll be going through some news stories, and then we will be thanking Pocketeers because that's how we get into the news when we do this. And first and foremost, we need to thank our biggest sponsor of the news, the only sponsor of the news. It is, of course, Tim. Get your exclamation mark Tims out in the chat. For Tim, who sponsors the Somewhat Daily News Backup from the Learn Programming Academy, you can jump across the link and check out his PDF on all things to do with coding, and then maybe take a couple of courses while you're at it. Peter, I promised last year that I was going to get into coding. I ran out of time. I'm going to make that same promise this year.
Nice. Well, yeah, last year you made it, and we didn't really start making Back Pocket until July. So you only had 5 months at best to get into coding.
And I was busy getting.
You've got 10 months of road ahead. So
and I was so busy getting swole last year as well as I was learning my coding. So the pressure was on. But
at least you got a haircut. At least you got a haircut.
Yeah,
things are looking up.
So yes, if you're keen on getting into coding, that's the best way to do it. I know I will in my 10 months coming up, and I'll race you to some coding courses and see who out of us and the Pocketeers can code the best. I'm sure it'll be those guys.
Very nice.
But thank you to Tim and everyone else for supporting the show. We are a show that's supported by everyone on Patreon, but we use your support there to make this delightful show.
Absolutely, we do. Let's get into it.
Let's dive into some news. And first and foremost, we should dive into all things Nintendo. Let's leap off the back of a bird. Let's sail a ship. Let's Ocarina of Time.
Feed a horse a carrot.
Yeah, let's do that as we trot our way across the newsy fields.
Oh my god, let's just get the story.
We'll dive into the first story, which is that a recent reveal in Australia, or from a branch of the Australian government known as the IP Australia, or IP Australia, has released that there was a trademark was taken out on Phantom Hourglass, Ocarina of Time, Skyward Sword, and Wind Waker, which has led to the speculation that Nintendo could be planning to release a bit of a collection, a bit of a Zelda collection, maybe in the vein of the Mario collection we saw late last year, and could be putting a couple of these Zelda games together in a sort of best of. Peter, are these the best ofs, and do you think this is what they're planning?
Are they the best ofs? Some of them. I mean, Wind Waker had a remaster already.
It did, yeah.
And Skyward Sword, didn't that get an upgrade as well? Like a little?
No, that one's exclusively been a Wii game.
Just the Wii U.
Only on the Wii.
Sorry, yeah.
Yeah, and it got mixed reviews. I really loved it, but it's kind of seen as one of the worst 3D Zelda games. And then throwing in the mix there is Phantom Hourglass, which was a DS game, which was wonderful. A lot of those are, I think, 4 seasons or something, and Phantom Hourglass and Spirit Tracks were all really, really lovely Zelda games. So I'm actually really excited about that. Playing that on the Switch would be wonderful. Of course, Ocarina of Time is a wonderful game, but then to not have Majora's Mask in there, which got a 3DS remake. It, like the Zelda
A Link to
series
the Past
general,
is like it's always evolving. Like it's always getting a facelift. The Zelda series, like
Totally.
I mean, you could even argue that each successive 3D Zelda game is pretty much the last game with some new features which make it better. Like
And
it's not like the story's changing.
You're
It's
right.
like-
it is a series that's gone through updates, had remakes, had facelifts. So it's not like, we haven't played these games since their original inception, and now this is the first chance to get our hands on them. Like you mentioned, that Wind Waker was released on the Wii U, I believe you said. So people may have played that and may have revisited that, which is what we're seeing here. And so, look, it's like anything. I would love to have these all in one little place, especially on a Switch, which is handheld. But I said that about Mario, and I have not really played more than a couple of hours of that recent Mario collection. If this does come out, would you load this up? Would you play any of these again?
Yeah, so like I think I didn't play Phantom Hourglass or Skyward Sword. So there's a couple of games there that I haven't even touched, which would be interesting. I think the thing that I found disappointing about the Mario collection was that they were just like basically direct ports emulated. There wasn't any like quality of life upgrades to them. So
there's a soundtrack you could listen on exclusively on the Switch.
Yeah.
Because people do that, apparently.
So, like... Yeah, I mean, I think it's always nice to have these games be accessible to a new generation that didn't get to play them back then. Yeah. But would I put Ocarina of Time in front of a kid instead of Breath of the Wild? Probably not. I guess
you don't have kids. Who is this kid? You're just settling up
nieces and nephews and random kids on the train.
Yeah, of course. Hey, you ever played Little Majora's Mask? Mommy.
See, Majora's Mask, I'd be excited to play again because I have a lot of affection for it, and it kind of felt like a weird cousin to the normal Zelda stories. So a little bit Pokemon and collect all the masks and like
I had a red go at that on 3DS, and look, it lived up to what I believed when I first played it, but I definitely didn't finish it there, and I think the 3DS wasn't the ideal platform. So sad to see that's not there. That a couple of the Super Nintendo version games aren't there as well. So like I think it's annoying when Nintendo do this, which is they just kind of like pick and choose the games they're going to put together. Similar with the Mario collection, is people were hanging out for Galaxy 2 as well. They're like, why is Galaxy 1 here and 2 isn't as well? And it's not just people shouting from the rooftops, we just want more games. It's like, as a collection, you would really hope that collection encapsulates like an era or a type of sort of a style that game or series went for. And sometimes it just feels like it's a bit of a mixed bag with Nintendo. Yeah.
I do think like, at least with Phantom Hourglass, there's some variety in the styles of games. Like, it's a different kind of Zelda game to the rest, which are 3D Zelda games. So it's like, at least you're getting a collection of like, here's a taste of what the isometric Zelda looks like. Here's a taste of the 3D. Here's three tries of the 3D Zeldas.
You're right.
So find your best one. So because it's like, if you had Phantom Hourglass, Ocarina of Time, or Skyward Sword, and like, I don't know, is there a Dr. Mario style matching tile game in the Zelda universe?
Not that I can remember. It could be.
But yeah, we get Link to the Past and the Four Seasons, and we've got like, there's so many Zelda games, man. It's like, that's an interesting way to look at it is, each one of these games is kind of encapsulates an era of the series. So you've got a 2D top-down. Ocarina was like the pioneering 3D version. Wind Waker was a GameCube game, and then you've got Skyward Sword being a Wii game. So they might be just taking one from each system and being like, that's the umbrella in which we're releasing this collection. That's if this collection even exists at all. The speculation is because they're saying it is a milestone anniversary for the series this year, and also that all these trademarks were taken out at the same time, which is reported on Nintendojo. So that is where the rumors are coming from. Those rumors may be either confirmed or denied tomorrow, because we've just got news that there will be a Nintendo Direct at 9 a.m. tomorrow, aided
which is my way of saying Australian Eastern Daylight Savings Time. But we will be seeing a Nintendo Direct for the first time since September last year. So it's been a while between...
September 2 years ago. September 2019. This is the first full Direct since 2019.
2019.
Last year they peppered out some smaller mini Directs, but...
Forgive me for wiping last year off my mental calendar. But yeah, since 2019. So that's a really long time between drinks for Nintendo. And if this is going to be a sizable drink, a tall glass of Nintendo water to keep us quenched before E3 or whatever is happening around the E3 time, there are rumors of lots of games being speculated to be released or talked about. Anything you're particularly hanging out for, Pete?
Yeah, I'd like to see some Pokemon Snap. New Pokemon Snap.
Of course you would. Ulterior motive there.
We know it's going to be a 10 out of 10 game.
Of course.
But also, like, that trailer kind of showed everything there is to see from a Snap game anyway. So,
yeah.
Like that first trailer. So, I don't know what I would want to see, but just more of it would be nice.
Totally. I mean, and this could be laying the groundwork for that E3 season, which, again, we're not really sure what or if is going to happen there in terms of developers and companies, sort of what they're going to show off or if they're going to even do anything around that time. But whether this will just pave the road for any of the announcements they're going to drop, then it might be a way to just whet the appetite. I'm hanging out for Breath of the Wild 2. Anything at this stage, also top of my list, but would be nice to get some information. I'd like Nintendo to do that thing where they just decide to focus on one game entirely for like a year and just do nothing but plug that game. And if it could be that one, thank you very much, Nintendo.
Yeah. It's like they always surprise me, at least, with these directs, because I'm not super plugged into the Nintendo kind of ecosystem. So there's always a like Bravely Default thing. I'm like, oh, that series exists, or like you know, there's going to be heaps. They've said that there's going to be a lot with Smash, and Smash is doing really well for them. They're like, I think the people that love Smash are very happy with how the game is. They're rolling out new characters and stuff because. How can you be unhappy with a team that is just putting in the thing that they think that they love and think works? You know, it's like maybe like what's his name? Sephiroth is like the first like cool hardcore thing for a while, but it's like they're all fun. So I think just getting a game that's getting that much attention, like loving a game that gets that much attention is a nice thing for the people that play that.
And that's lasted this long in the sense that they've just built the ultimate Smash game. Although I don't know if it's not ultimate. I forget which one it's called. But it's like they've built the framework of it. And it's like this could last for years. Like it looks perfect in terms of Nintendo characters entering that sort of universe. And visually, like it's got just enough polish. Apparently all the diehard fans are happy with how it plays. So yeah, it's just a matter of continually updating that, which I'm glad to see versus just another iteration or a Super Smash Brothers Ultimate Switch 2 or something. It's like, don't do that. Yeah. Don't do that.
What I would actually love to see is some hardware. I feel like we're probably not deep enough into the Switch life cycle. In fact, I think one of the directors at Nintendo said in an interview recently that the Switch is about halfway through its cycle in Nintendo's mind. But whether that means the Switch as a platform that has a Switch 2.0 or whether that means like this actual hardware now is going to be around for another 3 years before we put out anything new. I would love to see a more powerful Switch before Breath of the Wild 2 at least. So
it has been the rumor for a decent amount of time now that everyone's been hanging out for what is being sort of touted as the Switch Pro, because obviously we got the Switch Mini. Was that how it was referred
to?
Light, thank you. But whether or not there could be one with a bit more grunt and a few just of those sort of, if we're halfway through the lifespan, it's like that's when you want to see one that has just a little more grunt, that picks up the frame rate, that, has, for God's sake, have Bluetooth connectivity for headphones. Please, Nintendo. That is just one that does not make any sense. And just a few of those, like, just to extend the life and keep it running as a platform, especially when you've got something, like you said, pretty meaty like Breath of the Wild 2. You got Monster Hunter Rise, which again could, I think, benefit from just a little more grunt under the hood. So that could be, who knows? Would you, just a quick speculation, this is not news, what would be your Nintendo version of the name of it? Because I think like Switch Pro is just too obvious and it's Nintendo. They'll do something weird and daggy and they will call it the what, Peter?
It'll be called the Switch You and Me.
Switch U2.
Yeah. It'll be called the Bono.
The Bono, the Switch Bono. Yep, there you go. You heard it here first. And it'll come with an installed album from U2 that you can't uninstall off the Switch as well. Terrible. Speaking of possible terrible ideas, which, I mean, that's up for debate. But recently, Fortnite has a new event that's coming out called FORTINITE. This is an idea to run a series of short films in the game of Fortnite as a mode that can be accompanied with the non-combat Party Royale mode. But basically what's going to happen is they're going to run sort of every 30 minutes up on a big screen within that mode, short films that have won, BAFTAs, Emmys, Academy Awards, like actual short films will be playing in the Fortnite world for you to go and watch. And this is an event that they think will maybe capitalize on the idea of people consuming media within Fortnite, which is something they've already sort of played with before with concerts and trailer announcements, things like that. Peter, you're a huge Fortnite fan and all you do is talk about Fortnite and I can't tear you away from the thing. Is this another reason for you to spend more time in the world of Fortnite?
Oh, absolutely. In case people didn't pick up on Gus being facetious there, I loathe the game Fortnite, but I love what Epic have been doing with Fortnite as I guess Fortnite is a platform. It is now. It's a virtual space. It's the convention center, the digital convention center, and I think it's great. I think all the concerts and stuff they did were obviously we've got footage of the Travis Scott one, which was just ridiculous, and such an event. I feel like they could do less than that and it'd still be worthwhile hosting music within this game. They don't need digital avatars representing the individual band members or whatever, but giving people access to culture. Travis Scott is not my musician of choice, but
Fortnite is not your game. Travis Scott is not your artist, but you respect what's happening here.
I respect what's happening, and I love this short film festival. I love the idea of, because let's not beat around the bush. Fortnite is full of 12-year-olds, right? It's a young person shooter, and yes, there are people who are older who play it, but play something else. The fact that they're giving. They're making it really accessible, short films and stuff like that. I would love seeing culture put in here. I'd love to see them do sculpture, museum tours and stuff like that. I
totally agree, especially in the sense that I think starting with something like short films is cool, but what we're seeing here, at least in terms of the footage of the Travis Scott concert, is that this is a really clever way to use the fact that you're in a video game, that you're in a virtual world, that you have camera control. I will say I'm not skeptical of the short film thing. I share your sort of positivity around it. I think it's a great thing to put in any form of culture, any form of cross media, and do it in a clever way. I do think just watching something on a screen in a theater within a game pulls away from some of it. Apparently, you can pull the picture and do it as a picture-in-picture in the game as well. So you can have a possibly full screen or watch it in its entirety. But I do think there's more room for experimentation. And so, as you said, doing museum tours or something and putting real life locations in the game that you can run around in this non-combat mode could be a really cool step forward. Again, music videos and artists, trailers that do something with the world. We saw with the Marvel update, even though it was just an update for the game, it was a thing where it pulled everyone from the thing they were doing and sort of forced them to play or enjoy or look at something that was happening as a bit of promotion. You could also see that as being a bit sticky. It's you're adding corporate money into my gaming world. But if you do it in a clever and interesting and engaging way like this, I think it's a cool step forward. And Fortnite is this testing ground now for it, I think.
Yeah, and as negative as I can be about Fortnite, it's also a free game. So people get access to this for nothing, and I don't know how predatory it is, and you need this skin, so make sure your parents can give you their credit card details. But being able to attend film festivals or or music festivals within a space that is really comfortable is really important during COVID to be able to be entertained in different ways digitally. But even without COVID, right? Like giving kids who are so into this system different things to do within it, I think is just really healthy.
Yeah, massively. Spazros in the chat, I know, is a big fan of VR, saying Fortnite's becoming the Oasis from Ready Player One. It's like, yeah, it's kind of become that.
Yeah.
It's what Second Life was trying to be now, something like that. So It's a cool step forward, and I'd be interested just to see what they're doing in there with the short films. I think they're saying that they're starting off with 12 short films. So maybe they might expand this into, start putting some documentaries up. Get a little bit of Attenborough in your Fortnite. That's my opinion.
Just play out all of Nolan's films now that he's like anti HBO Max.
Yeah, exactly. He's like, cinema is dead, Fortnite forever. Speaking of something that is looking like it's sticking around, maybe not forever, but for a long time at the moment, is the recent release of Valheim, which is in early access, a game from Iron Gate. It has now sold, in its, I believe, early access form, over 2 million copies. This is, of course, a survival indie game of sorts that is set within the Viking realm. And it has been on Steam Early Access and on the 2nd of February. Since the 2nd of Feb. So it's been super popular. I know we talked about it last week on the show. Steph has been playing a bit of this to the point that it's been like people have been mentioning this outside of my gaming life, like my social life. Someone's like, oh, I'm playing this Valheim game. It's really fun. You should play it. So it's now penetrated my real world outside of just my gaming world and my work world. Peter, are you playing this? Is it worth? Are you the 2 millionth copy of this game?
I am actually. I bought and installed it last night at like 9 p.m. I was like, I need to check this out because I heard Steph next door laughing and having a great time, and she's been playing it the last few nights, jumping in. Yeah, it is a pretty classic survival building kind of game, but it's solid at this point in its early access. It's pretty stable. There is one like world-destroying bug apparently, but all the systems work really well. They don't feel too punishing, and like the icing on the cake is that it is beautiful to look at. And if you don't look too closely, it's interesting. Like that, it feels like you're almost like you're blown into the point where you can see the pixels, but when you take it in as a picture, it's like a really painterly finish. It's really lovely. And yeah, it's one of those games that's hard to quit. I just was building a house and, got to chop down another tree to get more wood to build the other stairs to get to the, it's like,
I do miss that initial learning period of a survival game where even though it's the same thing you've done in your rusts, your rafts, your whatever else, it's like, it's still a gratifying process to just work out those first little steps, your Minecrafts, I should say, of just like, oh, this is the tree I need to cut down. Can't do it without this. Add that, slowly build up your inventory, and before you know it, you're like, it really does drip feed progression in a way that it can mean that you sink so much time into it. And then on top of that, it's a setting that I think people are really into at the moment, obviously with Assassin's Creed and just people like Vikings in general in the last couple of years. So it's a smart decision there. And as you mentioned with the graphics, like, economical in the way it's been designed by the sounds of it. Like, it seems like it hasn't been overly ambitious both in its design but also in what it's providing as a game, to the point that a lot of these early accesses can be a bit like, you can see the cracks. They might break a little early on. You can see the ambition but not so much the execution. And from everything I've heard about this and from what you've just said, it's like the game feels like everything is there that it's promising for now. Is that correct?
Yeah, and kind of a little bit more. It actually reminds me a bit of what The Forest was like when we first started playing that, which was like, even though things aren't necessarily finished, the ideas are really solid.
Sure.
So like there's all the survival stuff, but there's also a persistent character. You skill up your character and you can fight bosses in and around the world that are like giant deer out of Norse mythology, and by defeating those, you gain a permanent stat boost. I think the first one is in effect that Reese, who's in the chat, was playing with him last night, described as like a shout from Skyrim. It becomes like an active that you can use that you have attached to your character now. So you get this, not only does the world become more comfortable that you're in because you're building and you're mastering tools and stuff, you as a character become more powerful in the world as well.
And I guess it's picked up a lot of lessons along the way from so many of those sort of survival open world games that have come along, and laid a bit of the groundwork. But obviously they're doing it with enough of their own unique flavor. And I'm seeing some people in the chat even saying this feels like Sickney saying it feels like a finished game, not much missing from the core experience. So I think that's always smart, because that uptake can often be a bit cultish when like games like this come out on an early access platform and people are like, oh, I'm loving it, I'm playing it. It's warts and all, but I think if you want it to last, if you want it to be the success that that launch trailer promises, it needs to be relatively fleshed out, which is what we're seeing here.
Yeah, totally. It's like more power to it. It's like it's had more active players on Steam than GTA 5 and some other things in the last week. Like it's like Ark, Dota 2 and Counter-Strike are still beating it, but it had
what you're saying is
367,000 concurrents. So it's like, and last week it had 160,000. Obviously, it's sold 2 million since then, and having 367,000 people playing this game at once is like for a second week game. It's like it's in that fever pitch of like
definitely
Fall Guys or Among Us when it finally blew up. So it's the hot game of the moment, and I do think it's got the legs to be interesting for a long time to come. And it won't be a finished game for another probably year. Like it's going to be in early access for probably 12 months from now. So the promise of what's to come from this game is really cool. So
and just to
see where it goes.
Yeah, and just to add to that, it is often like I'm trying to think of examples we've seen where games have done really well in that early access period, both financially and just like culturally. People have raved about them. How often they are able to fast track that development process, and I don't really think it's fair. I'm just assuming it's like, oh, well, they've made a lot of money. They are they able to suddenly pour that into development, into their schedule, and get this game up and running in, say, 3 months instead of the 12-month rollout they have in front of them, which, as I said, I don't really think you ever see, but it is always a worry of mine that it's like, I do hope they can capitalize on the fact that the game is successful now, and if they can kind of speed up that process to keep it relevant, because it is always sad then if these games do drop off and never really reach the potential that they have when they come out. Yeah,
that's an interesting thought, because like obviously they now have a massive influx of cash that they can spend on hiring developers to help them build different parts of the game that they're working on. I think it comes down to because to me, like the first one of these that always springs to mind is DayZ.
DayZ?
Right?
Yes, I was going to say, yeah, because that's always my, like, the saddest version of it, which is like...
DayZ was this beautiful thing that had so much promise and got that huge influx of cash because so many people were playing it. And
old mate Dean said, no, I got this.
Well, I think they did expand their team, and they did try to fast track stuff, but they just like, it's almost like for them the struggle was that they had this unwieldy engine that they wanted to get rid of, and they still to this day never finished. They never achieved what they had in their head. On a foundation of mud and sand. Like, it was never going to keep the thing propped up. Case in point, I literally installed DayZ on Game Pass on my Xbox One X the other day to just see what's up with it, and I booted it up, and as I popped into the world, I waited at least 40 seconds for every other asset to arrive into the world. I was like, this is criminal. And that wasn't even the experimental servers. So yeah. Valheim is in a really good position where it's got this influx of cash, and I think it has really good ideas. So hopefully the devs have a solid kind of work plan for the next 12 months. Maybe it'll come out quicker, but I don't think necessarily hiring new people to get things done quicker is going to be the best way to do it if they've built this so solidly so far, and have kind of the tracks laid out in front of them so that they can hit their goals and just use that money to buy themselves Porsches because they deserve them.
Well, I am interested in it, and I feel like I'm going to be the 2 millionth and second person to get a copy now because I'm going to join in the fun. And I'm intrigued by how much fun people are having with this, and I hope it turns into a survival game that sticks around for longer than some of the others.
Yeah.
Who knows? All right. Well, I think that wraps up all the news we feel warrants talking about today. So we're going to leave it there. But that is all of the news stories for this Wednesday, the 17th of February, for the somewhat daily backup. Thank you very much for assisting today, Peter.
You're very welcome.
And we will, I think, round things out there, unless you had anything else you wanted to add.
I just wanted to say, let's back it out.
Let's back it out.